I got these two scrap metal Wally figures that I thought were absolutely adorable, but they would be way cooler if their eyes light up, so here's how I done that. I have these multicoloured red, green, blue LEDs with 4 pins, and the colour of the LED is based on which of the 3 colour pins you let the current flow through. Turns out if you just wire up an LED to a battery, you will burn the LED and your finger. I got the LED attached to a microcontroller and it cycles through all of the colours just fine. Done it again because Wally has 2 eyes. I thought it would be really cool to control this remotely, so I added a Bluetooth module. This means I can control it from my phone with my own Android app. Just enter the MAC address and then you can control each eye individually. You can turn them on and off, change the colours, and that's about it. Now, to power the microcontroller, there's this large USB cable on the side. I'm not a fan of that. So I sacrificed this USB cable and added 2 pins on the end of it to connect to a breadboard. And yes, I am using the same butane soldering iron that burnt me in a previous video, but this was recorded before that, so that had not happened yet. Now that we can power the microcontroller through its pins, we can remove that cable, everything stays on. At this point, the circuit is complete, we just need to move it onto Wally. I wanted to use the thinnest wires I could find, and these are from a headset that I borrowed from an airline. They have these super thin enamelled wires in them. Just scrape off the enamel to expose the metal and we can solder them onto the LEDs. Oh, and I used a bit of heat shrink to make sure none of the wires are touching. I tried to make this LED as shallow as possible to fit inside of the eye, but didn't work. So I redone the LED with much more precision, making it as shallow as possible, once again using heat shrink to make sure no wires touch, and while heat shrinking the heat shrink, I forgot the soldering iron will also heat up my finger. Then rinse and repeat for the second eye, and they're looking kinda cool. The wires for the LED need to exit through the back of Wally's eye, so I needed to make a hole for them. I added a protective eye patch and got to drilling. The whole process took maybe 3 or 4 hours because it's hardened metal, and yeah, I broke a lot of drill bits. To get the LEDs into the eye, I had to feed through some kind of pilot wire, tie that to the rest of the wires, and pull it back through the hole. Now that worked surprisingly well, so I'd done the same for the other eye, and there was this lovely loop in Wally's back to feed the wires through to keep everything neat. I thought it would be really cool if Wally was holding the microcontroller. The problem is he's metal and that is a recipe for disaster if something short circuits. So I used hot glue to keep it in his hands. It's not perfect, but it is non-conductive. I then found a fantastic hole here to feed the power cable through so you don't see it from the front. I had to use a small blade to wrap the wires around the pins because it was so small. For the first time in my life soldered directly onto a microcontroller, I was super scared of overheating something, but after plugging it in, everything lit up. Job well done. The rest of the soldering was just transferring the breadboard onto Wally. I was continuously testing it throughout, so here's the first eye lighting up. That was perfect. I done the exact same process for the second eye. And then I realised I don't know where the Bluetooth module is going to sit. I eventually settled on just resting it on top of the microcontroller and hoping that nothing short circuits. Anyway, after more soldering and testing, the Bluetooth module lit up, it was flashing, it's beautiful, except it is quite distracting. I'm going to have this on my desk at work and that will drive me insane. So I cut into the protective plastic on the Bluetooth controller and just stuck some electrical tape on it. Here's Wally on my desk next to an LED cube that I made in another video. In the end, I connected Wally to a software I made that mutes Spotify adverts, so if there is an advert playing, his eyes will go an evil red. That's about it, so thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.